Running down the avenue, see how the sun shines brightly in the city. On the streets where once was pity, Mr. Blue Sky is living here today. Hey.
This is the worst.
Mota Zita Banakasi, welcome into the Worst Fantasy Show. I am your host with the least, Jack Lucenay. Just finished up smashing some dangles after dark. Some best ball fantasy hockey over on Underdog for tonight's late games. But you guys aren't here to listen to fantasy hockey. We're here for fantasy football. It is week 11 of the NFL. Yeah, it's a doozy. We're getting close to the playoffs. So, teams are very much in that make or break spirit. Definitely some floater teams out there starting to pay less and less attention. So take advantage of those easy wins. We'll do a couple best ball drafts after I smash through the matchups. But without further ado, let's get into this week of NFL and fantasy football matchups and start sits. So on by this week, we have the Buccaneers, the Cardinals, the Panthers, and the Giants. Those players will not be available to you. We have a awesome Thursday night football matchup, a competitive divisional matchup between the Commanders and the Philadelphia Eagles. So Washington Commanders at Philadelphia Eagles, 48.5 point over under. You're pretty much firing up everyone you got in this game, though I will say temper your expectations. These are two good defenses. It is a short week. Hopefully this turns into more of a shootout game. Obviously, Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin are in. Zach Ertz, if you need that deep tight end play, is a low-level PPR play. He's in. Brian Robinson, the matchup's not great, but unless you have a much better option, you're probably riding with him. And I would still play Austin Eckler as a low-level flex play. But again, the fact that Brian Robinson is healthy and in means that it feels like neither of them are going to be truly great, but they're both low-level flex plays. On the Eagles side, I mean, very easy. Saquon in, A.J. Brown in, Devonta Smith in, but that's the one that, when everybody else seems to be going, he can definitely disappear on you, but you have to play him because when he does blow up, he'll have great games. Dallas Goedert is in if you are needing the tight end. And obviously, Jalen Hurts is in at your QB spot. So not a lot of hard decisions here in the Thursday night football game. Getting into the Sunday matchups, the Green Bay Packers at the Chicago Bears, 40.5 point over under. What will the Bears offense look like post Shane Waldron, I think, is the big question here. I think the Bears will probably get a 1-game bump. I think what's going to end up happening is, they're going to simplify the offense in a sense, and I think they're going to lean on the run. DeAndre Swift, especially, who had been performing well previous to last week. I think we'll see a little bit more run from him. But when I was kind of stumbling there because I wanted to say I think they're going to simplify this offense, but Shane Waldron's route concepts, when you actually look at them, are already relatively simple, and I think that's actually part of the problem, is that it's just really easy for NFL defenses to figure out what the Bears are doing on offense. And when you have a rookie Caleb Williams trying to make things happen, holding onto the ball too long, taking bad sacks, I just don't know how much this Bears offense is going to be able to improve in this regular season. I don't necessarily but you're handcuffed almost into starting certain players. So like DJ Moore, I'm treating DJ Moore at this point as a wide receiver 3. Like I would start Darnell Mooney over DJ Moore. Josh Downs, before Anthony Richardson was declared taking over for the rest of the season, like that was kind of in play. So that level of wide receiver, I'm actively playing over DJ Moore right now. But if you're asking me like DJ Moore or Xavier Legette, like I'll still take the shot on DJ Moore, especially hoping that we get that one game Shane Waldron bump. On the Packers side, you have almost just as many questions, quite frankly. Like Jordan Love is in for sure because it's sum of all parts, but and Josh Jacobs has been, I think, quietly consistent for the most part, and he should play, so he should be fine. But on the receiving side, I really think that it's Jaden Reed and Tucker Kraft, and you don't really mess around with these secondary and tertiary options, and that includes Christian Watson, unless you're in like a really deep format. I really think that for the purposes of going forward into the fantasy playoffs, the guys that you're looking to actively play, Jordan Love, Jaden Reed, Josh Jacobs, Tucker Kraft. That's your 4-pack for the Packers. And like I said, on the Bears side, I would start DeAndre Swift in this game. I'm comfortable with that. Again, with that one game bump, having let go of the OC, feels like they're going to lean on the run, which is funny because they let go of Khalil Herbert. So maybe we see a little bit more Roshan Johnson in this game as well. DJ Moore is the only wide receiver I would start, and again, treating it as a wide receiver 3. I need to see now what they're going to do with this offense post Shane Waldron. And so you would think that DJ Moore is the primary starting wide receiver, and maybe he gets hyper-targeted in this game. So I think I would play him and then kind of wait and see on Keenan, Rome, and even Cole Kmet, who's like a really deep tight end play that's become a non-factor. Raul Boy, what's up? Asking, should we trade away DeAndre Swift? I mean, yes and no. In a vacuum, I would say yes if you're able to get compensatory value. Like if you can get a good trade, I would try to package him because I don't think you're going to get what you want in a one-up trade. But I'll give you a couple names right now. Buccaneers running back. So whether you are trading for Rachaad White or trading for Bucky Irving plus, I think you could get that done. And this is a trade of you have to be sure that you're going to be playing in the fantasy championship for the most part. Like you're one of the 1 seed or 2 seed and you have a path to play in the championship. Go look at what week 17 is for the Bucs. It's the Carolina Panthers. Just the best matchup possible for your fantasy running back. So I think both Rachaad White and Bucky Irving will have big games in week 17, and they're going to be players that are on a lot of championship rosters that ended up bringing home the trophy. So those are kind of 2 guys that I'm low-key targeting right now, Rachaad White and Bucky Irving, that I think are attainable and that I think you could get. Also, the other thing I'm doing is Jared Goff has a really garbage playoff schedule. If I have Jared Goff and DeAndre Swift and I can turn that into like Justin Herbert and Bucky Irving, I'm doing that all day, every day. So that's kind of the where I'm looking at. And then in the same breath asking, should we also trade Jettas, Justin Jefferson? And now you're getting into a conversation of you have to really be calling your shot and getting a lot of value. Like if you could somehow get George Pickens and Rachaad White for Justin Jefferson straight up, like you have to be really confident in that. And even though those guys both project as potential playoff winners, shout out to the fantasy footballers. They've been talking about George Pickens specifically as a playoff winner. And I'm looking at, again, Bucky Irving and Rachaad White especially with them leaning on the run more in the absence of Mike Evans, in the absence of Chris Godwin. And even when they get Mike Evans back, Chris Godwin's not coming back. So they're going to lean on, these two running backs kind of no matter what. So again, in very select situations, you could talk me into it, but I'm not just trading him for shits and giggles. I'm not just packaging him away for depth pieces without really examining, like, okay, maybe these are viewed as lower pieces, but I'm looking at the schedule and it's like, nah, but the schedule lines up as such as like, if I think the pieces I'm getting back are going to wildly outscore Justin Jefferson in terms of the amount of fantasy points that they're going to put up in the next 6 weeks, I'll make that trade. It's a math problem at that point. You have to start ignoring names at this time of year and start doing those math problems of, look, if I trade X player for YZ player, are YZ player going to outscore X player by an incremental amount? Because it's not just that I'm getting rid of X player, it's that I've now got these two guys on my roster. That's one less waiver ad that I can make. So does X guy and whatever I can sub off waivers equate to what I'm trading for these two pieces? So again, a lot of little math problems you got to do there. If the math adds up, make a trade that's beneficial. But again, don't just be willing to trade players away just because. Jacksonville Jaguars at the Detroit Lions, 46.5-point over under. Unfortunately, the Jaguars are beat up. Mac Jones will be starting this game. So I don't really want anything to do with the Jaguars pieces, to be honest. It feels like they're going to have a blow-up spot. I mean, you can start Evan Ingram as a tight end because PPR. You can take the shot on Brian Thomas Jr., who's been dealing with chest and rib injury and has Mac Jones as the quarterback now. You can take the chance on Travis Etienne, who has done sweet fuck all for like a month now. And really the only reason he's relevant is because Tank Bigsby really got injured and now isn't doing anything either. So, again, if you're in extremely deep leagues and you just don't have another option, like I've got places where I'm starting Travis Etienne, but they're 12 to 14 team leagues where I've got guys on bye, guys injured. I'm dealing with a lot of problems. I'm not willingly starting him over basic, even running back options. So just be careful with the Jaguars side. On the Lions side, you just fire up who you got every week. It's, David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs are in. Jared Goff is in. Amon-Ra is in. Sam Laporta is in. Jameson Williams, that's the one that me personally, I've never been a Jameson Williams guy. I think he's very boomer busty. He reminds me of Gabe Davis, of every time you try to play him based on the matchup, you don't get the points. And then when he's sitting on your bench, that's when he has the blow up 100-yard 2-touchdown game. So me personally, I would actually be, that's the kind of guy where I feel like has a perceptive value greater than what I think it is. And so I'm actively trying to trade him away to people. The Las Vegas Raiders at the Miami Dolphins, 44-point over under here. I really like the Dolphins side of this. I've been taking some decent Dolphin shares in my best ball portfolio. Stacking Tua, who's been completely ignored in the best ball streets, with combinations of A-Shane or Tyreek. And even I think I did one where I had both because Tyreek just keeps falling. Rightfully so. He's been terrible, but he plays every week. And again, I mean, he's ranked as a wide receiver 30-something right now. It's gross. It's bad. But again, it's Tyreek and it's a matchup against the Raiders. And unless you have legitimate options to start, like you're not starting him over like, I think a good conversation actually to have would be Jacoby Myers versus Tyreek Hill. I actually think Jacoby Myers outproduces Tyreek Hill. And so that's one where if you want to call your shot, and especially if you're like top-ranked team where you can kind of take that chance for the floor play. Like, I actually think Jacoby Myers has a safer floor than Tyreek. But this feels like a blow-up spot for the Dolphins. The Dolphins historically beat up on bad teams. The Raiders are definitely in that kind of murky waters of they're starting to lose themselves a little bit. And we've seen games get away from them. So I'm banking on a big Dolphin spot here. So I'm firing up everybody. Tua, Waddle, Tyreek, A-Shane, Mostert. Hell, throw Jonnu Smith in there. And on the Raiders side, it's like Jacoby Myers, Brock Bowers, and I'm out. See ya. The Los Angeles Rams at the New England Patriots, 43.5 point over under. Again, this is stocks up to me is very easy. Like you're starting Stafford. This is a decent matchup. We've seen the Patriots even at home give it up on defense. Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua are both starting. Kyron Williams. And then that's it for me. Demarcus Robinson is a very dart throw play. I think I view Jameson Williams and Demarcus Robinson as the exact same thing in fantasy. They can get you everything, they can get you nothing. So if you're in a situation where you're a really low-end team and you're facing a really high seed and you don't really have a shot, you're just looking for a fill-in spot, that's where I'll throw in a Demarcus Robinson. And just keep an eye out on Davis Allen. Seems to be taking over that tight end spot for Colby Parkinson. But as long as they're both in right now, neither of them is viable. Like, I would start even Jonnu Smith over them. And then on the Patriots side, this is easy. Ramondre Stevenson. See ya. Again, if you're in a deep super flex, like Drake May is definitely startable. I'm not trying to guess which Patriots wide receiver might be viable this week. Kayshon Boutte and Pop Douglas seem to be like the deep PPR guys. Hunter Henry, if you're in kind of a desperate situation. But yeah, that's rough. Raw Boy asked, would you be satisfied getting rid of Jettas knowing you have Garrett Wilson, Higgins, Collins, Evans, JSN? No. Short answer is no, because you just named 3 guys that are injured. Higgins should play this week, but obviously there's a missed time. Collins obviously coming back from the injury, and Mike Evans still injured. So you talked about 3 injured guys. JSN breakout is a perpetual hope machine, but hasn't truly happened yet. And Garrett Wilson is like the one really nice piece there. Justin Jefferson is clearly your best wide receiver. So again, don't be flippant about getting rid of him. If you can trade him for like the tits, then you do it, right? But if you're not getting tits, don't trade him for ass, Frizzle, yo, what's up? What's going on? All right. The Cleveland Browns at the New Orleans Saints, 44.5 point over under here. The revenge game of Jameis Winston. It would be more revenge if Dennis Allen was still the head coach. However, I kind of mentioned this before. Derek Carr has been like weirdly standing for Dennis Allen, being like, oh, DA deserves to be here and he didn't deserve to get fired. And So fucking emo Derek Carr feels like is going to be the revenge factor for Jameis Winston. I think this is going to be a decent game. I do think it hits the over. It's a 44.5 point over under. I think it hits the over. I think you can start Jameis and David Njoku comfortably. I think Jerry Jeudy and Cedric Tillman, you kind of throw them in there and hope for the best. I know I've seen a lot of people reaching on the Tillman thing, especially, and I think that one's a little bit foolhardy. That one could blow up in a lot of people's faces, but I get it. On the Saints side, it's Alvin Kamara. You can start Derek Carr if you're really like down bad in a super flex. I think this is, the Browns defense is really good, but they are better on at home, and they're a lot better against the run. So I do think Derek Carr can definitely take advantage of them, in the Superdome. I'm not starting receiving options. I'm really it's Derek Carr, it's Alvin Kamara. And if you want to fuck around with the Taysom Hill spot start and hope that he does something, then I get it, but I'm not a fan of it. It's, I'm not trying to do that every week. For the last, speaking of a desperate situation, I have to choose to start either Winston or Anthony Richardson this week since Murray is on bye in a 14-man league. Yeah. See, that's the type of league where you're having to make that kind of decision. I would throw in Jameis Winston. I'm really not a believer in Anthony Richardson. And I look at the matchup. We're going to get to it in a little couple matchups here, but Colts at Jets. So just Jets defense is they're better against the pass than they are against the run because of their pass rush. I don't like this matchup for Anthony Richardson at all. I don't know why they would make him come back for a road matchup against a still decent Jets defense. I really think I would play it safe here and play Jameis Winston and hope that, the revenge game, and he's got actual he just has the ability. I know he can pumpkin, but he obviously can go for 303 and 3. I think that's the thing, right? And then Rob Boy says MVS is legit. Yeah, I wouldn't chase those points though. And what if Anthony Richardson is actually Trent Richardson? I mean, he basically is. I was never in on the Anthony Richardson thing. I think he was very much wish cast into his position. It's the Josh Allen thing of we can develop him. It's this guy cannot hit the broadside of a fucking barn door. I've never seen a guy who can throw it 80 yards downfield, but can't thread it 8 yards downfield. This guy's got. If you were looking at the Madden stats, his throwing power is 99 and his throwing accuracy is 0. It's ridiculous. One of the games of the week here, the Baltimore Ravens at the Pittsburgh Steelers, 48-point over-under. I think this is a potential blow-up spot. I think this definitely hits the over. Historically, even though these have always been two really good defensive teams, these have often turned into 30 burger style shootout games. Back in the day, it was Joe Flacco and Ben Roethlisberger, and now it's Russell Wilson. But he's playing good. Russ and Lamar, and both of these defenses are really good against the run. But you can definitely get them against the pass. So again, I think, and I've been reticent on Zay Flowers all season. I think this is a good spot for him. I think you start Lamar, Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews, and obviously Derrick Henry, regardless, because Derrick Henry has, I think now he is the only running back that has scored a touchdown in every single game. But yeah, you start him no matter what. And then on the Steelers side, again, I think this is also you start Russ, you start George Pickens, you start Najee, even though again it's a bad matchup, he's going to get the 20 carries and you hope he plops into the end zone. And the Muth is the one that, it's just never going to happen in an Arthur Smith system in any kind of consistent fashion. But if you just need a body to fill that tight end spot, I don't hate it. Frizzle asks, is Zamir White a sneaky pickup off waivers? He's basically the only running back left. Feels like the new OC is going to make him decent. Yeah, I'll believe it when I see it. I mean, look, throw him on your bench. If you have this space and you believe that, pick him up and throw him on the bench. It doesn't hurt nobody. It doesn't hurt anything, right? And if I'm wrong and you're right, then you get ahead of the crowd and you don't have to spend any fab on him next week. I'm not starting him. They're coming out of the bye. Maybe they turn things around. Maybe they give him more work. I just don't believe it. They've said this all year. Antonio Pierce has said this multiple times this year of, oh yeah, we're going to give Zamir White more work. We're going to give Zamir White more work. And then you turn your head and it's fucking Alexander Madison again. So I'll believe it when I see it. I got Bijan and Mixon, and currently it's either Trey Benson or Audric Estime is going to fill in for their bye week. Yet, honestly, Trey Benson is not a bad fill-in because he's getting just enough to be worth a flex play, and he's definitely a hold because if God forbid James Conner goes down, he's the one that's going to get the majority of the work. And Estime, it literally looks like it may have just flipped in Denver. If they start legitimately just giving him all the carries, like he had 14 or 15 carries last week, if that starts happening, he's also a low-end flex play. And both of those guys, frankly, I think I would rather have over Zamir White. So if you're dropping Trey Benson or Estime to get Zamir White, I wouldn't do that. All right. Minnesota Vikings at the Tennessee Titans, 39.5 point over under. The return of Will Levis made me look stupid last week because I do not believe in this kid. You talk about Anthony Richardson having accuracy problems. Will Levis said, hold my fucking beer. But I think, again, you're down bad in super flex. I would play Will Levis. I would play him. I would play him over Mac Jones, like that level of quarterback. Calvin Ridley. So earlier this year in one of my leagues that I commissioned, I made a trade. It was Calvin Ridley and DJ Moore for Tyreek Hill. And then everybody freaked out about it. And they're like, oh, that's not a fair trade. And ultimately, because I'm the commission, I hold myself to a higher level of standard. I ended up having to cancel the trade because everyone was bitching about it. This is why you never veto. Calvin Ridley in the last 3 weeks has almost as many fantasy points as Tyreek Hill has on the fucking season. And definitely since that trade was nixed by a bunch of angsty league mates. So hashtag never veto. And also just me dunking on my league mates again. I even put a thing in the group chat of reminder Calvin Ridley, more points than Tyreek. But yeah, I would start Calvin Ridley. I would start Tony Pollard. I would start Will Levis, end of list. On the Vikings side, Sam Darnold is definitely turning back into a average NFL quarterback. He's pumpkining hard, but you still start him in super flex. Justin Jefferson is obviously just locked in every week. Aaron Jones, I think, is still a solid play, even though it's a tough Titans run defense. I don't want to mess around with Addison in this game. I think I would start Hawkinson. I think it's just those guys. It's, Darnold if you have to in a super flex, and then Justin Jefferson and Hawkinson I'm fine with. This is a tough Tennessee defense, so just maybe temper your expectations. The Indianapolis Colts at the New York Jets. We kind of touched on this already a little bit. Bad matchup for Anthony Richardson. I am not starting Anthony Richardson unless I absolutely have to. So, Anthony Richardson over Gardner Minshew. Anthony Richardson over Mac Jones. Anthony Richardson over... I'm struggling to think of more names. I think I would start Jameis Winston over him, over Anthony Richardson. I would start Aaron Rodgers on the other side over Anthony Richardson. I would start Sam Darnold. Yeah, probably. Drake May, Bo Nix. I think I would start over Anthony Richardson. So, yeah. To me, A-Rich is very much like a very low-level back-end superflex play. Jonathan Taylor, great spot for him. Jets defense, they definitely give it up to the run. That's their soft spot. So I like Jonathan Taylor. Unfortunately, because of Anthony Richardson, I don't really want Josh Downs or Michael Pittman or any other receiving options for that matter. So I'm starting Jonathan Taylor, and then I'm moving on. And on the Jets side, I think it's you start Aaron Rodgers, you start Garrett Wilson, you start Devontae Adams, and you start Breece Hall. And I guess if you're really, really desperate, you're like in a 16-teamer and you're only tight end, all right, shout out Tyler Conklin. We had a question before I move into the afternoon games. Dylan Fink, what's up, my man? Full PPR, 1 quarterback, 2 running back, 1 flex. Okay, so we're choosing between Daniels tonight and Justin Herbert. Oh, that's tough. That's tough. I really like Justin Herbert actually this week. I'm going with Justin Herbert. I'm going with Justin Herbert by just a little bit. I do think this is a nice matchup tonight for Jaden Daniels against the Eagles. The thing is, and we haven't gotten to it yet, but the Chargers are going to be in a primetime home game against the Bengals, and the Bengals defense has been getting eviscerated through the air. And you look at Joe Burrow on the other side, has the ability to definitely push this into a shootout game on Sunday Night Football. I would start Herbert over Daniels. I just think, again, the matchup against the Bengals is really tasty. And maybe I end up being wrong about that, but yeah, it's hard to ignore, man. Like, you look at what Lamar and Joe Burrow just did, and Herbert is perfectly capable of entertaining a shootout here. So I think I would go with Herbert. And then for the 2 running backs, you have Dobbins, Walker, Jacobs. I really like Dobbins too, but I'm not starting him over Kenneth Walker or Josh Jacobs. I really like the matchup for Jacobs against the Bears. I think they're going to lean on Jacobs in that matchup. I like Kenneth Walker. I think I'm taking the talent there. So let's say Justin Herbert, Walker, and Jacobs. And then for your flex, I'm going DeAndre Hopkins. It's hard to sit Daniels and Terry McLaurin. That sounds crazy, but I love the DeAndre Hopkins spot against the Bills. I think he's going to have a really good game. I think Daniels and McLaurin is very 50-50 on they could either have a great game. I think they could have a bit of a stinker here on Thursday night. The Eagles defense has been playing really well. And it's one of those things where it's like if they blow up and it's on Thursday, you can still manage it. If they suck and it's on Thursday, you're going to be so glad you avoided it. I think the only thing is like, I get to watch tonight's game earlier. Me personally, I'm just going with the matchups and what I think are the better plays. I think it's Herbert, Walker, Jacobs, and Nuke. Final answer. Ugh. That was tough, though. All right, let's get into these 4 p.m. games and let's draft a couple best ball teams. The Atlanta Falcons at the Denver Broncos, 44-point over-under. Falcons side, usual suspects here. You're going to start Kirk Cousins. You're going to start Drake London, but temper expectations because he's going to be dealing with Pat Surtain. Because of that, I really love Darnell Mooney and Kyle Pitts. I know Kyle Pitts has been really disappointing. I've been sneaking him in some best ball lineups because I think this is a potential blow-up spot for him. And then obviously Bijan Robinson is in your lineup. On the Broncos side, Bo Nix, collection of all parts. I think he's a startable asset. I like Cortland Sutton here. And I like Estime, but I'm not starting him unless I'm like really, really desperate. Like I'm on buy and I need a body and I got nobody else. I need to see it a couple weeks in a row that he's firmly now entrenched in getting like the majority of those like RB1 carries, like AKA carries on first and second down. If he gets another 15 touches, I think I'm fully in on it. The second game of the week, the Seattle Seahawks at the San Francisco 49ers, 48-point over-under divisional matchup. Love this. And DK Metcalf has been practicing in full, so he should be back, which is great for a lot of my fantasy lineups because I'm heavily invested in DK Metcalf. He will be in my lineup, I can tell you that. I would play Geno. I would play DK. I think at this point, I would take the shot on JSN, and I would only play Tyler Lockett in like desperate PPR situations. And then Kenneth Walker is just in at your running back spot. On the 49ers side, George Kittle is questionable, but he's been questionable all year. And the report is that it's nothing to worry about. He should play, should be fine. So I love Purdy and Kittle. I like Deebo Samuel, though it's been a little bit disappointing, frankly. And I think they're relying primarily on Kittle and Christian McCaffrey, who's obviously returned and who you will be in your lineup if he's playing, which he will be. But it's Juwan Jennings. Juwan Jennings is kind of taking over that Brandon Ayuk spot, has the connection with Brock Purdy, has the goodwill built with this team, having been with the team for a minute. I like Juwan Jennings a lot, and I would start him in this game over a lot of options. So I really like Juwan Jennings here. The Kansas City Chiefs at the Buffalo Bills, 46-point over under. This is one that like projects as a big shootout. But I think based on how the Chiefs have played for the last like 2 years, and the Bills offense also has kind of wavered. And if Amari Cooper and Keon Coleman end up being, available but less than 100%, this one scares me that it could hit the under. I still think you have to start pretty much everyone in case that it hits the over. So you start Mahomes, Kelsey, Nuke. Isaiah Pacheco won't be back for this one, so you still comfortably start Kareem Hunt. And then on the Bills side, Josh Allen, James Cook. The thing is, I don't know if I want to start Amari Cooper or Dalton Kincaid, assuming that Kincaid can play. He's dealing with his own injuries and has been very disappointing. I think you can find better options than Kincaid. Like, I think I would start Hunter Henry over Kincaid. I don't know if Mike Gesicki and Will Dissly, I would go that far, but there's a good chance that those guys outproduce Kincaid. Yeah, again, he's been really disappointing. And Amari Cooper, it's very much like still trying to find his way with the team. Maybe this ends up being the blow-up spot, but the Chiefs' defense is really good. So I would struggle to start Amari Cooper as more than like a wide receiver 3 here. And finally, our third game of the week, the Bengals at the Chargers, 48-point over under, the Sunday night football matchup. Already talked about it a little bit. Excited for a potential shootout here. You're starting Joe Burrow. You're starting Jamar Chase. T. Higgins should be available for this game. You're starting him. Because T. Higgins is in, I would actually fade the tight ends, especially because Hudson and Gesicki, they're all kind of splitting work. So I don't think I would start any of them. I think you limit yourself to Burrow, Chase, Higgins, and Chase Brown. And then on the Chargers side, I like Justin Herbert. I like Lad McConkey. I like Quentin Johnston. And I like J.K. Dobbins. And I even like Will Dissly as like again, streaming option. I've got him covering a couple bye weeks for me. Really low, deep level play. Like, I don't mind Will Dissly. And finally, the Monday night football game. I forgot to grab the over-under for this one, but it's the Houston Texans at the Dallas Cowboys. And this one is rough because the Dallas Cowboys are decimated. So I think this is pretty easy. You start CeeDee Lamb because you have to, but you obviously temper your expectations. I'm not starting any other Dallas Cowboys if I can help it. I'm starting Houston Texans defense. I'm very excited about that. But I think CJ Stroud is in. I think Joe Mixon is very obviously in. And I think even Tank Dell, who's been disappointing, I would go back to that well for this game. And that's it for this week's matchups and start sits. Let's go and slam a little bit of best ball.
Do you want to see me dunk?
Sure.
Yeah? Okay. Are you guys ready? I'm okay. No, don't worry.
Does that always happen?
So you guys are here to see me draft hockey, right? Yeah, no. All right. Okay. Bad joke. I got it. Gotta hit with the dad jokes when we can, right? No, we are gonna do some Wildcats. Maybe just do a couple. Probably just a couple. They fill pretty fast though, so maybe we'll be able to do like 3 or 4. I really love these. They're $3 entry, $10,000 prize. Tiered, obviously, so you don't have to come in first to win some decent coin. I've been attacking them all year. I'm not gonna lie, I've not done great in the Wildcats, to be perfectly honest. They are 150 entry, and they're very competitive. So you definitely have to draft a perfect lineup if you want to win. But again, the risk versus the reward, like I've been putting 10 to 15 to 20 entries a week. So 10 times 3 is $30. $30 for a chance to win 10K. Really juice up my enjoyment of my Sunday football. Yeah, why the fuck not? And we got the 101. So that's a lot of fun. You know what? Since this is the first one we're doing on the stream, I'm just going to keep it nice and tradish. I've been going Christian McCaffrey with a lot of my 101s. However, you don't want to do the same thing every time. Obviously, when you're doing these, you want to try and develop some kind of variety in your lineup. So from the 101, when I've had it, I've either gone Christian McCaffrey. There's been a couple times I've gone Devon Achane. Justin Jefferson is another one. Amon-Ra St. Brown. I love the matchup. So between those 4 guys, I've kind of rotated between my 101. But we'll go with McCaffrey here. We'll start with a running back, which is definitely going to dictate how I build the board. A lot of what I've been doing with these board building too is you either want to start kind of with your double running back or double wide receiver. And you'll kind of see what I mean by the time that it comes back to me. It really depends also how the board falls. For the most part, I've noticed that a lot of these boards either tend to go heavy running back off the top or heavy wide receiver off the top. And then obviously, when it comes back to me, I'm finding that the wide receiver options I want are getting pushed down or the running back options I want are getting pushed down. So I'm as opposed to mixing and matching to try and get value, I'm finding that I'm really double tapping positions. So just kind of looking at the board here. So already you can see, again, running back. And we got wide receiver. And now a tight end. So at this point, it's starting to look like I'm probably going to go wide receiver because I'm looking at, George Pickens and Cooper Kupp might make it back to me here. And then I've still got some running back options that I like further down the list. We could even go quarterback here, but generally speaking, I'm a wait on quarterback kind of gal. And Lamar he's the one that I would have been considering there anyway. So this is perfect. We're going to get both of our wide receivers out of the way here. George Pickens, smash matchup against Baltimore. We'll take Cooper Kupp. Little Cooper Kupp. And now we've got McCaffrey, Pickens, and Cooper Kupp to start us off here. And we've still got plenty of options. Now, quarterback this week is extremely interesting because Lamar Jackson tends to go first, and then you have Josh Allen in a potentially bad matchup against Kansas City. I've actually found that Brock Purdy has been the most popular quarterback on this slate to be drafted. And I've been drafting a lot of him myself. We have Christian McCaffrey. Not afraid at all to pair Purdy with McCaffrey because you'll get those receiving touchdowns. And I've even gone as far as taking Kittle, McCaffrey, and Purdy all together. in like a super stack. The 1 week that I won on Drafters, it was a different app, but I won first place on the Drafters $3 contest, and I won $2,000 there earlier this year. And the way that I did it was I super stacked Philadelphia. And so I've been looking kind of throughout the season for those super stack opportunities. And again, when you see a slate like this, where it's like there's honestly not a lot of like super great options across the board, I don't mind going with a super stack if it makes it to me, but it probably will not. So let's start looking for some alternative options here. So there goes Kittle. So obviously there's the super stack is off the board. So besides Purdy, one of the other clicks I've been doing is Russell Wilson. You get him in the last round. It's an easy stack with George Pickens, right? And it should be a shootout with Baltimore. When you look at like Jared Goff against Jacksonville is potential. Jordan Love against Chicago, but that's a road matchup. Tua is another one that's been one of my late clicks that I enjoy. Actually, let's see if Tyreek is still... Tyreek sometimes is still hanging around. He's not right now, though. So... And we're still full in play here. Purdy goes. So we saw Kittle and Purdy go unconnected. Wow, Jonathan Taylor with his beautiful, beautiful matchup just makes it right back into our loving arms. Oh, thank you, Jonathan Taylor. And then let's go ahead and take our tight end here. Let's take a naked David Njoku. Has a positive game script and matchup with the New Orleans Saints, even though it is a road matchup. We've got a really strong team here with McCaffrey, Jonathan Taylor, Pickens, Cup, and Njoku. And now we just got to pick our quarterback. So let's see who we got here. Now, this is a little key tip. Certain sites will include Sunday Night Football and some will not. So on this slate, you're noticing probably no Joe Burrow, no Justin Herbert. If you're on Drafters Fantasy, the Sunday night slate is in fact included. So I have been drafting a lot of Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow over on the other app. However, you don't have that option here. So Russell Wilson's been just routinely available for me in the last round. That's been an easy one. Jordan Love, if we want to take him untethered, I'm fine with that. Tua is another one. We could go contrarian and take Geno, but it's unconnected. Stafford is another one against New England. That's a pretty decent matchup. So lots of quarterback options this week. If you're not getting one of those real top quarterbacks, whether it's, if you're going to pay up for Lamar Jackson, or if you're going to take that leap on Josh Allen and hope for a true shootout. And that's something that I struggle with sometimes, but I think you got to force yourself to make the clicks you don't want to make. So maybe on this next draft, that's exactly what we'll do. Because I have no Josh Allen right now, and I don't think I have any Mahomes either. I think I don't have a lot of that game except for I grabbed DeAndre Hopkins and Kareem Hunt in a couple spots. All right, and we're gonna have a last pick on the board here. You know what? Let's go with. I've stacked Russ a couple times. Let's go with the naked. Let's go with the love. Let's inject a little love into our lives. I'm feeling positive. I just made the transition over to Blue Sky, so feeling a little positivity. I don't know why I didn't like that. It will. Okay, let's just go back. And we'll do another one here. Wildcat. You tell that Wildcat behind the wheels, keep it above 50 miles per hour, or this bomb will explode. Pop quiz, hot shot. I was going to quote lines from Speed for the rest of the movie. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. Is this car insured? Yeah, why? Oh, yeah? Well, I'm taller. Okay, I'll stop now. Jesus. Yeah, we'll probably do, what was it, 750? Yeah, well, let's do one more of these. And then I'm gonna cut out of here. We'll go watch some Thursday night football. We got one more waiting. Hopefully, I don't get stuck with the 1-on-1 again. I want to be literally anywhere else on the board at this point. We're gonna do something completely different. I'm gonna draft all players that I have not drafted up until this point. I'm gonna try and make the argument for like all my least favorite clicks and why they should be on this team. So let's start adding some of these. So, I mean, running backs in general at the top, let's avoid that. Let's go with wide receivers. So Amon-Ra, holy shit, 102. Okay, we're going to have to get funky with this. Let's go Justin Jefferson. We're going to put Josh Allen in our list. I've been flip-flopping between Puka and Cup. Just over and over. Puka Cup. Don't have a lot of Breece Hall. I have a decent amount of Brock Bowers. Let's see. Alvin Kamara is one I don't have a ton of. Kyron, I don't really have a lot of. Because Kyron, I don't have a lot of just because I've been taking a lot of Puka and Cup, and it just feels like by the time I'm on the clock, like I just don't really end up taking him. I haven't taken much Debo. I've taken plenty of Kittle, but no Debo. Kenneth Walker is another one where it's like I like that player, but for some reason I just don't ever end up really drafting him. Now we're gonna go real freaky. We're actually gonna go with Amon-Ra. We're gonna go pure matchup. I'll take that Jacksonville matchup because I do think that Tennessee matchup is a potential trap. If Sam Darnold has another pumpkin game, that's one that could blow up your spot. We'll see who makes it back. I don't think Kyron will make it back to me, but if he doesn't, assuming Alvin Kamara and Kyron go, I'll bite the bullet and take a Josh Allen build here. Also assuming he doesn't go. I always love when I'm like, I'll take one of these three players, and then it's like you see those three fucking players go off the board back to back to back, and it's like, God damn it. That's where I'm like, look, they always say have a plan to be able to pivot in fantasy football, and then like something like that happens. I will say one tip that I've fucked this up all the time in these leagues. So you see how this guy just took his quarterback, right? He can only have one quarterback. So this guy, right? Anytime he is on the board now here in front of his two picks, should not be taking a quarterback. You should be taking the quarterback when it comes back around the second time. Just because if you take the quarterback here, this guy's going to take two players that you might want as opposed to nobody, right? Where you could have just taken the player you wanted. He takes two guys and then you're fine. Okay, shit. Kyron made it all the way back to us, huh? And do I think Mueller will take Josh Allen on me? Is the question. But we have so little Kyron that let's do that. Let's do Kyron and let's hope he doesn't take the quarterback here. I could see him taking. There's lots of better, or not better, but like other options, alternative options, anyways. Him taking, okay, sweet. When he took Travis Kelce, there's a lot of times where I feel like you can kind of tell what someone's thinking. Like if he takes Travis Kelce, odds are he's not going to take the opposing quarterback in the same game. So you can kind of see like, okay, I think he's about to take somebody else, and okay, cool, my guy's going to make it back to me. So I took that bet. I took Kyron, hoping that there was a chance Allen would make it back to me, and it would be easier for me to adapt to the quarterback as opposed to the running back. So I'm hating and loving this team right now. This is, again, not a build I've done at all so far. So this is already I already like this in terms of just like getting something different. D's nuts. What's up, my man? Purdy or Daniels? Fuck. Purdy. Again, Daniels is just really risky to me. Like he could have a great game. He could also have this could be a bad spot for the Commanders, I think. The Eagles defense has just been playing so well. Oh, fuck. No, okay. The only way I'm going to change my answer is if you're in 4-point passing and there's like a super juice for the running quarterbacks. If that's the case and very select, so like I have shout out Fantasy Sports Advice Network. There's a Jersey league that I'm in, and the scoring there is really messed up. And every individual fantasy league has different scoring, but this league really favors the running quarterbacks. Like it's like a crazy boost. So again, just bearing that in mind, 4-point passing leagues, that kind of thing. I can still see wanting to start Daniels, but my gut instinct says Purdy outscores him this week. I just think it's a good matchup for Purdy too. Especially like Seattle getting DK Metcalf back. I think, the historicity between those teams. Home matchup for San Francisco, that's very important. If this was in Seattle, I think I would feel different. But this is in San Francisco. So I think I go with Purdy. All right. Let's take Kenneth Walker. Because again, we're just taking guys that we really don't draft normally here. Cedric Tillman has been a really hilarious one that I've seen a lot of people do. If Debo gets back to us, why would we not take Debo? You know what? Let's take Debo. I have almost no Debo. This is definitely like, except for Amon-Ra, I think I just took guys I have zero exposure to. Now, I will say, I have to thread the needle on these things. I'm not like a lot of these best ball bros out in these streets that have like the fucking thousands of dollars that they've already won that they can just invest into this shit. Like I'm doing this off my paycheck, you guys. So I threw like, what did I do? I did 30 on football and like 20 on hockey or something. I think I did like $50 today. And granted, like, my winnings from last week and rolled over, and I've been doing stuff for football, and I had some money earlier in the week, and I put some on, and so you add it up here and there, and you try and get as much as you can, but I'm still out here threading the needle. These other guys that have like $450 to just have their fucking teams auto draft off of their rankings, like I don't do that shit. I manually do every single draft that I do, and that's why sometimes it can be hard to like break yourself out of the take lock and be like, okay, no, I need to like force myself to move on this board and take some different clicks here. Kyle Pitts. This is one. Oh, I said, you know what? No, we said we're taking all pretty much guys that we have not taken. And I think I'm actually gonna go with Mark Andrews. We'll see. So every other team has a tight end in front of me now. So again, this is where it's like I can see that I saw Buck Tim Hall there. Was making his decision on a tight end, and then I was able to see like, okay, if he takes Mandrews, I take Pitts, and if he takes anybody else, then I get to make my decision on which one I want. I've taken Kyle Pitts a few times. I have not taken Mark Andrews, and since this is the draft of taking all guys that we have not taken, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I like that Winston pick from the stash. That's definitely that's again, when you get into these drafts, one of the things that's really hard to do, I think, is finding true differentiators without fucking up the draft board, because you can't just, shout out Raw Boy was said earlier, like MVS is legit. Like you can't come into, oh fuck, I'm about to get auto drafted Pitts. Oh wow. Sorry guys. I was supposed to take Mark Andrews there, but it's okay. We'll settle. Anyways, what I was trying to say before I rudely cut myself off there, you can't come into these draft boards and take like MVS number 1, Derek Carr number 2, because what ends up happening is that it'll get flagged by Underdog for competitive imbalance, and that will get canceled. I've never done stupid shit like that, so I don't know the message that they send you as a user to be like, hey, you can't do that. And I know if you're like a repeat offender or whatever, if it's bad enough even the first time, I think they can like eliminate your account or whatever. So just be aware that like if you're going to take really, deep dive clicks, like you can do that. There's no problem. You're allowed, but do it in the 5th and 6th round. Don't fuck up the draft by like, reaching for a guy in the 6th round in the 1st round. Anyways, that's it for me. Running just a little over an hour here. We will be back on Sunday. I'll be in Hawkesbury, Ontario, but I'm still going to run the live at 9 a.m. To answer all your last minute questions on Sunday morning. So Sunday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will be back here on the channel. Same good place, same good time. Until the next time, make sure you guys super kick that subscribe, all that algorithm stuff, but I will catch all of you guys on the flip side.
He's running down the middle by the 50. He's at the 30. He's bare-chested and banging his chest. Now he runs the opposite way. He runs at the 50. He runs at the 40. The guy is drunk, but there he goes. The 20. They're chasing him. They're not going to get him. Waving his arms, bare-chested. Somebody stop that man. Here comes